Hey everybody, it's Queen Jelly here and welcome to or welcome back to the Toy Box. This is a doll and toy themed YouTube channel meant for adult collectors like myself. With that being said, today is going to be the long awaited unboxing of the Alien Skullector. I'm so obsessed with her. So if you guys don't know, I purchased this doll, I believe, during the fan club window. I think she was the first one that I ever posted during fan club. And then my doll said it was shipped almost immediately. And then it just kept saying that the label was created and it never went anywhere. So mine was one of the dolls that got lost in the mail. I was not alone in this. However, I was not aware that other people were having this issue when I was contacting Mattel about it. I remember it was around the same time that the K-pop Demon Hunter pre-order was announced and the listing went up, because I remember it was funny. I was going on a cruise that week because my parents take me on a cruise for our vacation every other year. The first day before, when we were boarding the boat, was the day that the K-pop Demon Hunter dolls dropped. So I purchased those right before we got on the boat and I had to turn my phone off. But I also emailed Mattel about my doll not showing up. And was like, hey, I still haven't heard or seen anything about the alien doll. What's the deal with that? Hey, what can I do? And they were like, just give us more time. We're not really doing anything about it yet, but thanks for letting us know. We'll look into it. I got off the boat and I still really hadn't heard anything from them a week later, which is about what they had said to give them. So I contacted them again and I was like, hey, any update on the Skullector doll that I ordered? And basically the response I got was, okay, well, at this time we're now either going to replace it or refund it. And I said, replace it, please. I would really, really like this doll. And then, so ever since then, I've been very paranoid about all of my Mattel Creations orders, especially because it happened in such mass. So it wasn't just something I did. It was definitely something that got lost. But yeah, however many months later, because that was sometime in December, I want to say November, December, somewhere in that, we now finally have the replacement doll. So very excited. But I do have an itty bitty confession to make, because I have been saying that I never received my first one, which was true at the time, and was true up until very recently. But I was very paranoid that if I said anything other than my doll wasn't here at all, that Mattel would find out and they would cancel my recovery order, which is probably nonsense and probably wouldn't have happened. But because I have a public channel, I've seen a lot of people posting about it on Facebook, but they're also not necessarily content creators like myself. So I was very scared to say anything. However, what I do want to say, because my plan was when one of them arrived, or when the second one arrived, to take one of their hair down, because I'd seen some really pretty pictures of them with their hair down, but I knew that once their hair was down, that was it. There was no way I'm getting it back up into that style. But I wanted to see both of them. One, I wanted to make sure that this one actually came, because I was very scared that this one wouldn't come. And two, I wanted to see which one was, the better one, and leave the hair up and take down the other one. I haven't really had too many issues with stuff like that, where it's oh, it's not great, so I'm gonna modify it. But I just wanted to make sure that I had both. But I did, because I didn't want to post a video about it, I opened that doll privately. I wanted to open something for myself to kind of bring back the joy of collecting. So when the other one arrived, I didn't open it right away. Again, because I was kind of waiting to have both of them in hand. But it was also, right now I've just been having a hard time finding a spark when it comes to recording and editing my videos. I've been seeing a lot of negativity about things that I can't really control, but are just kind of things that are taking away some of my joy from this channel, which is really disappointing. But sometimes I need to do something for myself and remind myself why I do this. So I did open that doll off camera for myself, again, mostly because I didn't want to post a video about it. I probably could have recorded a video at that time and then just saved it until I received my doll now, but I wanted to wait and open this one because I just, like I said, wanted to open something for myself. I was absolutely obsessed with her, and then I went to go do some laundry and my dog got to her. So as you can see, she is now an amputee. Her full dress is intact, but her arm is bitten just above the elbow. Funny enough, all she did was rip it off, because I still have it right here. But as you can see, she bit it right above the elbow joint, so it is torn in such a way that it cannot be put back on. So my expectations for getting a second doll went right back up to it being very, very important to me that this second doll showed up, because not only was she a replacement for a doll I thought was lost, but then when I finally got that doll in my hands, immediately I felt like she was taken from me again. Now I still love her, even as an amputee doll. I've taken her places with me, even with only having one arm. But I really want to either get, because I know sometimes people will sell like their accessories or whatever. I either want to get a replacement outfit for her that's the same one or a different one, just so she doesn't have the torn sleeve. But as far as her arm, like, she just has a limb difference. And as someone who is a disability advocate, like, I'm not going to throw this doll away just because she has a limb difference. Do I prefer my dolls that are representing disabilities to be intentional and not accidental like this? Absolutely. But in this kind of accidental case, we'll take it. And she is now one of my disabled dolls in my collection. But so this is the doll that will be getting a makeover. So her hair will be coming down, and at some point I will be getting her a new outfit. Like I said, whether it's a replica of this or just some other doll clothes that fit her, I will decide later. But the whole reason I'm going into all of this is that I am incredibly excited to review this doll for you, but I just want you to know that I do have some experience with her, physically having her in hand, as well as seeing her in other people's videos, because last year you could not get away without seeing videos about her, because she was in everybody's top 10s list. She was in everybody's favorites videos. So even though I didn't watch any dedicated videos to her, it was impossible to get away from seeing everything about her. But yeah, this is an incredible, amazing doll that I'm so excited to review for you guys. But I do just want to be genuinely honest with you that I have had experience with her, however tragic it may have been. So with that long ramble out of the way, we're going to get into the last stuff before we look at the dolls, which of course is my reminder that if you like to help out deciding what videos come next on the channel, don't forget to go to my community posts and vote for the next doll. And of course, as always, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. We are still growing, which is super exciting, but I'm still a small channel, all things considered. And so any little interaction really helps and pushes us into the algorithm, especially with all the changes that have come lately on YouTube. So I appreciate all of you if you're here for the first time or if you've been here for a while. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the desk. All right, so one food break later, now it's time to go ahead and get her out of the box. But first, it's time to go over the box. So the first thing on the front is this image of the doll. This is one of the split design boxes, so it is open here in the center. As with the Skullectors of the time, I do think that some of the newer ones have changed their packaging style, but I haven't bought the past couple of Skullector dolls, so the only one I bought recently is the River Styx doll, which I have since found out has AI packaging, and I'm very angry about it. But in the meantime, we'll focus on the Xenomorph here. So it does say Alien here at the top with the very spread out letters as we typically see in the logo. And then we have the doll here, and then it says Monster High Skullector. And then we have another image of the doll here on the side. A picture of the egg on the back. It says, "In space, no one can hear you scream." And then on the side, it just says Alien. Then if we open up the center, we can see our doll inside. As you can see, the background for this doll is the space station. She's in kind of this creeping pose. Let me go ahead and take this off so you can actually see her instead of me. New doll smell. But here is the inside of the packaging. Here on the back is the certificate of authenticity along with her stand, which she has quite an interesting stand, and we will talk more about that when we get there. But I'm going to go ahead and get her out of the box now so we can take a better look at her. All right, so now she is out of the box. As a reminder, just in case you skipped the beginning of my video, which you are more than welcome to, I'm not going to go into the whole thing again, but this is technically my replacement doll, which is why you see a second copy of her in the background. I have not done a review of the first one. We are doing a review of her this time. I do like to put the dolls at the end of my unboxings just to kind of signify the end of them, but I am actually going to take her right back off because I want to show you the stand. So right here you can see the design for the stand. This is not the only time we've had a design like this. We also had one very similar for Emily here, which funny enough has the same kind of bend shape here that the alien doll has, but with the Emily doll, she did have a unique clip piece here because she does have the two different size legs. So she had one that was a little bit smaller than the other. The unique feature, however, on the alien doll one is that it actually slides up and down. I believe the intention of this is so that you can get some more dynamic posing, especially like with the like very space theme, so you can kind of get maybe a little bit more of a floating position. However, this doll is very heavy, and so therefore it is a little bit tricky to get them in any position other than a neutral standing, at least in my experience. But once you can get them there, they do tend to stay pretty well, but it is pretty difficult to get them into those poses. Something that I will sometimes do when I'm putting this one on the stand to kind of measure it is I'll fully strengthen it out. I'll put it whatever pose I want, and then I'll kind of push it down to get it to the height that is appropriate for that positioning. But again, she is very heavy, so you kind of don't want to touch the doll once they are in position. However, I do really appreciate these leg clips because in the past, a lot of my dolls that are on the saddle stands, they don't have these side clips, and so I end up like rubber banding their ankles or around their legs in order to keep them on the stand, so there's nothing really keeping them there other than just gravity. And with as much as my desk moves around when I'm using them, it's not necessarily my best friend. So I do really appreciate them giving us these waist clips, especially with a doll as heavy as this. And by heavy, I mean really well constructed, but because of her design is not super balanced. But that is not a fault of the doll. That is just because of the design that it is based off of. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove this tail bit before it smacks everything else off. But we will talk about that in a moment. I want to finish talking about the stand. As you can see, the base is a modified version of the regular stand, and then again has this area up here that goes up to hold the extender area, and it looks like it is made out of spider webs. So as always, I love whenever we get a modified or unique stand for the characters. I do like when they come in other colors, but for the alien doll, I think it makes sense for it to be the basic black. Since we went ahead and took it off, we'll go ahead and look at her tail up close. So it does have a little bit of articulation to it. There's just a wire inside so you can kind of pose it. It does take a bit of grip strength though to get it to move. If you just kind of gently push it, it will bounce back in place. You have to really give it an intention when you are trying to shape the placement of the tail. But again, it is a rubber coated wire, so it is posable. It ends in this spiny tip and has detailing all the way down that kind of looks like vertebrae. And then here we have a close-up of how it inserts into the back of the doll. So as you can see, it is double rods. This one does have a flared section here so that it keeps it from just sliding off on its own. It does have to take a little bit of force to remove it, but as you can clearly see, it is removable. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our doll. So we're going to start with her feet down here. Here are her shoes, which are just absolutely amazing. There is not a thing on this doll that I do not like. I think this is amazing and stunning, and I can see why she was so highly regarded and in so many people's favorites list from last year. And then it just made me even more excited that I knew that she was coming eventually. But also like very happy for everyone who was able to get theirs on time, because she is just one of the best collectors that we have ever gotten. Not only like in the detail, but also just in the construction in general. Again, she feels so well made. Doll is so sturdy. Like, she feels so nice in my hands. She has a good weight to her, and she's nice and like thickly constructed, for lack of a better term. Like, she doesn't feel like she's just gonna snap. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the sculpting on her shoes, but we're going to take it off because the black on black is really hard to see. So we have the face hugger design wrapped around the top of the shoe, and then the tail section wraps around to underneath, and we have that kind of spiny tail going along it as well. It looks very similar to the Xenomorph's tail. And I just want you to look at all this just amazing detail, like the rib cage like design, this mouthpiece down here by the toes. Like, this is amazing. And this isn't an object heel. It's just a shoe that just incorporates all of these amazing details to make it just so absolutely stunning. But it's definitely something, again, it's black on black, right? So you really have to look closely to see it. But like, that's what it's supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to be glamorous from far away, but close up you can see all these very gruesome details, for lack of a better word. Since her shoe is off, I will also go ahead and show her the body sculpting, or show you the body sculpting on her. Look at that, the detail in her foot. She does only have 4 toes, and you can see the bones of her foot and the wrinkles in her skin. And then there's this little antenna here at the heel, and like, just look at the muscle structure. Like, this sculpting is just everything. And then it continues up into the upper leg, where again you can see the wrinkles, you can see the muscles, the air vents. Like, it's all there. And again, it continues all the way up the center of her body. And then we can go ahead and talk about her clothes. So she has this amazing fabric material here that is a sheer black mesh with then this beautiful printing on top that does have a bit of a color shift to it. Now, I am going to take a look at my 2 side by side, because I have actually seen that there's potentially a color difference in the gradient. I think it may just be from doll to doll, since it is just a holographic effect, which can naturally shift based on the fabric. But I am curious what the 2 side by side kind of look like as far as that color shift. Now, I will say they are both very similar, and you may not be able to see it on the camera, but there is a very slightly different color in the gradient. So the original one has more of a blue undertones, whereas the new one has a little bit more of almost like a yellow undertone to it, which is consistent with the posts that I had seen talking about it. And they did test it in multiple different lightings, and it seemed to have the same effect. So that is quite interesting, but genuinely something I would not have noticed if I had not seen someone speak about it. But I will say the color scheme, I think, does make more sense with the blue tones, but the gold tones almost make it easier to see the print on it, if that makes sense. Again, it's not that drastically different, especially when you have them in like a low light setting, but I can see the very slight difference in the holographic. Here is the printing on the front section, and here it is along her hip, and I just love the baby xenomorph in there. That is just so cool. The fabric design and this printing is absolutely just everything. Again, it just shows the amazing details that we could have on these collector dolls. And then if we move up, There is the printing on the arm. It is a little bit harder to see just because of the way that it's wrapped around her body, but you can kind of see a face hugger up here on the shoulder, as well as more of that like mechanical like design going down into the hands. Now this skirt is a separate piece, and it is all over this kind of pleather bodysuit here. This rib cage area is also actually technically a clothing piece and can be removed. This is a fully plastic accessory. As you can see, these small holes here on the back, that is actually how it connects to the doll. So she has these pegs here on the back of her body that kind of are just like spikes blending into the rest of her design, but that hold this on really nicely and in a nice clean spot. We can see that kind of like very organic flow of the design around her rib cage, and then up into these tendrils / spikes that go down her back. And then it does appear that the top is also an additional piece separate from the bodysuit. So the bodysuit literally just covers her chest, her rib cage, and then her waist area. As you can see, there is this gap here on the back. This is where the tail plugs in. So I show you those two holes, and they go into, or these two pegs, I should say, and they go into each of these holes here on the back. But now that she is undressed, we can also see this amazing spine detail going all the way up into this large ridge here, with several smaller spines going up the top. Then for the shirt, it is, like I said, a separate piece that then velcros here in the back underneath the spiked areas in a similar position to where the bodysuit velcros to. I do like this silver embroidery here around the neck because it almost kind of looks like a pearl necklace. But also without that chest piece on, we can see even more of the printing here on the chest. And then now for her face, as far as we can see so far, she does have black lips. She has this amazing sculpt indented into her face that I think works really well for this design. I know a lot of people wanted to see a similar design for Emily, but I feel like she has a different type of aesthetic, right? So I think for Emily, it's kind of like a glamour look, but a soft glam. Again, more wedding core, definitely more like beautiful than like grotesque. And I'm not saying that the alien doll is grotesque, but I think it's more finding the beauty in the horror with this one, and finding like those like something that shouldn't be beautiful but making it into something that is. And I just think that these like giant gashes in her face just work again because of the amazing work that's gone into her entire body. I think if this is isolated alone, this would not be as stunning as it is, but like the sculpting here, like again where you can see like the muscle structure and everything, and it goes all the way around the backside of her head, is just everything. It's amazing. Now, as you can see, you cannot see her eyes very well because of this helmet piece. It does clip on underneath her hair, and her hair, as you can see, is rubber banded and sewn into this high area, as well as glued to heck and back. And it is a hard shell. Now, this technically can be removed, but I personally wouldn't recommend it because I don't think it's going to go back on very well. So, as I stated in the earlier section of my video, I intend on taking down the hair of my other doll. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the mask off of my original, and we're going to take a look at her face that way. So because I always tend to miss something, I realized I forgot to point out her hands here. So I do, on this side, there we go. I have her sleeve pulled all the way up so that we can see it once it focuses. There we go. So she does have these amazing hands. They are the same on both sides, but they have this like super long fingers with these shorter ones next to them, and then they have this again like muscle structure built into them. You can see all the folds and crevices on the underside. And again, fully brand new sculpted. Like, this is not coming off of anything else. We've never had hands like this before. And then she has these details all the way up her arm, the same like spines here on the elbow area, and then the venting and wrinkling all the way up towards the shoulder. And also, as I was putting her shoe back on, I noticed this area here, which is the kind of like egg incubator that we typically see kind of like on the back of the box. That's what this shape is. I know it's really hard to tell, again, on the black on black, but just the fact that the more you look at this doll, the more details you see is just amazing. Okay, so I have the helmet off now. I wanted to show you some details that you couldn't really see with the hair on, that we do have all of this kind of, again, organic shaping here inside the helmet, which you can like not see because of it being really that dark shape on top of the dark hair. But they went through all that detail to even put it inside of the helmet. And here is her face. So she has these amazing eyes with this star detail inside of them. Oh, I really needed to focus. There we go. With this amazing star detail inside of them. Her catch lights almost look like the moon or like a planet of some kind. But otherwise they are black. And then she has blue. Oh my gosh. And then for her eyeshadow, it is black and silver with white eyelashes and black graphic liner almost for her eyebrows, which is such an interesting choice. I get it because she is not meant to like have like essentially like any really like hair or fur, so she wouldn't really have eyebrows, so they went with this more of a makeup look to kind of simulate them so she doesn't look off for not having them, but at the same time they're not like organic looking, which I think is really cool. And again, the attention to detail in this design, even with like the sculpting here on her sides of her head and on her forehead in an area that most people will not see because of the mask and how dark it is. So you can kind of see, especially like with the ring light, let me bring it a little bit closer. You can see her eyes through the mask if you really look, again, especially if you have her in like direct light, but it's not nearly as visible, obviously, as if you have it off. So like there's so much amazing detail to this doll, even in areas that, like I said, aren't really meant to be seen up close like this, but they do know that a lot of us will modify and edit our dolls. So again, I appreciate this doll so much. I love her sculpting on her face, even like with this really thin nose, like all of this is just, this is what we want to see. And I know everyone has said that already, but like this doll was, you know, the same price as many other Skullectors, if I remember correctly. It's been so long, but I want to say that this was a $90 Skullector. And the fact that everything on her is absolutely brand new, other than like the body itself is a big sister body, but the sculpting of the hands, the feet, the face, even the, you know, the legs themselves, like all of this detail on it, that is all brand new. And she's just absolutely perfect, or at least as close to it as a, you know, a collector doll can be. Like, they did so much for her, and like this is what they should strive to do all the time. And I understand that they can't always do it because of, you know, maybe the IP or, you know, whatever, but I think as a collective we would be willing to, you know, pay more for these, like pay what we were already paying. But I'm just saying, like, we wouldn't have as many complaints about price if all of the dolls looked like this. If all the dolls had this much detail and this much innovation and design quality. And the fact that I have two of them, even though it was not intentional and very much like disappointing the circumstances as to the reason that I have two of them, But I do also consider myself to be so lucky that the second one arrived, because I am very happy to have both of them in my collection. Again, they are going to serve different purposes, but they are both absolutely amazing. And again, this is one of the best Monster High dolls ever. And I'm not even like a really big like Alien fan or like a Xenomorph fan. Like, I have seen the movie, but it's been a very long time. Most of my connection to it is through it being in the ride at Disney World. That RIP is no longer there, but still, this doll's just everything. I haven't washed it or anything, but here she is with her hair partially down so far. I think I might actually leave it at about here, because as you can see, she can still wear her helmet. I think even with her hair fully down, she'd still be able to wear her helmet. But right now I've taken down the upper layers to have some face framing area, and then she does still have this ponytail here, because how it works is actually their ponytail then is wrapped with this plastic piece, and then the hair is wrapped around the plastic piece to create that cone shape. I do plan on washing out this gel, and hopefully that will make it lay even flatter. But the way that it looks already is just so beautiful. Again, I have it partially down, and then I've currently left the ponytail still up. But as you can see, like, she has so much hair, and like the rooting is somewhat thin, but I still think she can be worked with for hairstyling, just because the hair itself is very thick, and it does appear to be a little bit thicker on this side than it did on the other, because I'm not seeing the roots on this side like I did with the other, at least not as much. But I mean, that's to be expected with dolls that do have updos. They tend to have a little bit thinner of hair, but as you can see, she does still have a kind of part line right here in the middle. It's not super pronounced, but it is there, which again, I know is helpful for restyling. It's not something that I typically do, but I have watched a lot of videos of other people doing it, so I don't plan on doing too much with it, other than, like I said, washing it out and letting it lay fairly just like, you know, down and flat. But she just already looks amazing, and all I've done is taken down just part of it. So again, just they did such a great job with her, and I feel silly just saying like so much praise for this doll, but at the same time, like, I haven't genuinely like felt that they've put this much effort into a doll in a long time, before or after. So I'm just, again, very grateful to have her in my collection, that I was able to get her not only once but twice. So I will, if I wash her soon, I will get that added to the end of the video. Thank you again for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy this doll. Please let me know your experience down below. I also did post a poll because I'm very curious about other people's experience with this doll, so let me know what you think down below. So again, as always, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help us out, and it also helps you if you enjoy our content and would like to see it again in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye!